Guys, so we're gonna fix trigger pull issues today. We've had a lot of bloopers. So we're gonna fix a trigger pull issue. The first thing that people tend to do when they're newer shooters is they want to slap the trigger and then they move their finger completely out of the trigger guard and put it back up on the side. Or they even not even on the side, they just put it up and move it completely out of the trigger guard and put it up on the side of the trigger guard. So we're going to fix that. The first way to fix that is to make them count to 1,000 when they pull that trigger back. So you pull it back 1,000, then release it back to the reset point, and then pull it back again for another count of 1,000. Wait until you're done with your control paired before you move your finger out of the trigger guard if you're trying to create that trigger discipline. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, are we better this time?
We are.
Okay.
We got this.
All right, so go ahead and extend out. And take your first shot, count to 1,000, and then take a second shot before you remove your trigger from the trigger guard. Okay.
1,000.
Okay. All right, so that helps control the trigger. Let's go ahead and put your safety on. That helps control the trigger and keeps us from actually slapping that trigger. The only problem that you run into on this is that they tend to slap the trigger on that second shot. So they get it for the first one, so on that second shot. So if you're running this drill with a newer shooter, you're actually gonna have them run through a full magazine and do 1,000, release back to the set point. Trigger 1,000, release back to the set point. 1,000 and keep going, okay? So that being said, now let's talk about how to actually follow up with the trigger. So as people get more advanced or they're trying to shoot fast, they tend to just keep moving that trigger and you're gonna have to drop your left hand out of the way so they can see. So they want to go ahead and take your safety off. Oh, man, I can't even hardly see. It's so freaking hot out here. Okay, so go ahead and what'll end up happening is that you'll pull the trigger and then you'll come off and you come all the way off. In order to get fast shooting, what ends up happening is people come on here and they'll take their shot and then they come up all the way off the trigger and they take another shot, okay? And what I'm gonna tell you to do is a little bit different, a little bit counterintuitive to that, because that ends up causing issues where you're slapping the trigger, it's inaccurate, and it's actually a lot slower, because what ends up happening is you actually wait for the gun to fully reset before you take your finger off. So what I actually want you to do is I want you just to immediately bring it back to that breaking point right there, and then that's where you're gonna pull it and you're gonna actually prep that trigger. So we're aimed in a direction. We want to destroy whatever is down there. So we're aimed in the direction of our threat. So there's no problem with me prepping that trigger because I've already committed this gun because my safety's off, my finger's on the trigger, I'm pointing the gun at something that I'm obviously willing to destroy. I'm already committed to that. So I'm not bringing my trigger finger completely off the trigger. I'm just bringing it to the point to reset, and then all of a sudden I can bring my finger all the way back, right? So this allows me to actually, let's see here, I can bring my trigger to the reset point, which is about right there. It's obviously not doing it because it slides back. So that's my reset point for the trigger. So that's where I want to bring my trigger finger forward to, not bringing it all the way forward or even bringing it off the trigger. Now again, we kind of create that issue of doing this when we don't have good follow through. So the follow through issue that we run into at the beginning is that people want to bring their finger completely off the trigger. And so they end up going like this each time, and then it's a trigger slap. It's impossible to be accurate like that. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to take make your trigger break and then bring it right forward to the reset point and then break again. So that brings up one final point. That actually wasn't a malfunction in the gun. That was this specific gun. We've got a review on this gun with the Smith & Wesson CSX, and it has a false reset, and so you can see we didn't actually discharge the primer or anything. So she cleared it thinking it was a malfunction there, but it actually wasn't. It was that there's a false reset on that trigger, and so if you don't go all the way forward to the second reset, you'll end up doing that. It's a really easy thing to do on this pistol. That's why we don't like this pistol for conceal and carry. So, okay. Cool. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure and like and subscribe to the channel, and we will catch y'all next time.